Bhagavate Devaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we are starting new chapter, chapter 34th of Prabhupada Lilamrita, entitled Jet Age Parivrajaka-acharya. Jet Age. So normally Parivrajaka-acharya means those who would travel all over to spread the message of God. But they would not travel by jets, they would travel by foot. This is a tradition. The sannyasis who travel by foot wherever they go. But Prabhupada set a new standard, jet age. He had to go far and wide, all over the world, and in very little time. Didn't have much time. So let's see what's happening here. May 1971. Srila Prabhupada prepared for extensive world travel. Although his itinerary was indefinite, his general plan was to travel widely for a few months, then tour the US, visit London, and then return to India. He had sent disciples to Australia and Malaysia, and he wanted to visit them. He also wanted to go to Moscow and was awaiting a letter of permission from the Soviet government. As he had spread his movement in America, visiting major cities and preaching, and then stationing a few faithful disciples there to carry on, he now expanded his field to include the whole world. In 1965, when Prabhupada went to America, 66 the movement was registered, and hardly any disciples that time, and they slowly started picking up. And in 71, Prabhupada had sent disciples to Australia and Malaysia, London, and he wanted to visit them now because they are doing wonderful preaching work. This is real Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement. This is how widely it spread that time. And then he wanted to go to Moscow because he was waiting for a letter of permission from Soviet government. Somehow, one Professor Kutowski, he was impressed by Prabhupada's writings. So he applied for the visa for Prabhupada to come to Moscow. And Prabhupada went to Moscow. It's amazing how he went and what he did over there. Let's see what it explains. Srila Prabhupada's traveling was in the mood of Narad Muni, the eternally wandering devotee. In the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Srila Prabhupada had translated Narad Muni's works. I travelled all over the earth, fully satisfied and without being proud or envious. I do travel everywhere by the grace of the Almighty Vishnu, either in the transcendental world or in the three divisions of the material world, without any restriction, because I am fixed up, unbroken in the devotional service of the Lord. I do travel, as above mentioned, by constantly singing the glories of the Lord in transcendental message by vibrating this instrument of Veena, charged with transcendental sound and given to me by Lord Krishna. And in his Bhagavatam purport, Srila Prabhupada had explained, it's a duty of a mendicant to have experience of all varieties of God's creation as Parivrajaka-acharya, or traveling alone through all forests, hills, towns, villages, etc., to gain faith in God and strength of mind, as well as to enlighten the inhabitants of the message of God. A sannyasi is duty-bound to take all these risks without any fear, and the most typical sannyasi of the present age is Lord Chaitanya, who traveled in the same manner through the central India jungles, enlightening even the tigers, bears, snakes, deers, elephants, and many other jungle animals. So yes, the most typical ideal sannyasi is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he traveled. He traveled South India, we read about him, how he traveled all over South India and traveled from Jagannath Puri to Vrindavan, as Prabhupada is mentioning. He even enlightened tigers, bears, snakes in the Jharikhanda forest. In the age of Kali, Prabhupada had explained, sannyas is especially difficult. If, however, one did take sannyas, one who may take the vow of renunciation of family life may not imitate the Parivrajaka-acharyas like Narada or Lord Chaitanya, but may sit down at some holy place and devote the whole time and energy in hearing and repeatedly chanting the holy scriptures left by the great acharyas like the six Goswamis of Vrindavan. So, yes, for different peoples, it could be different ways, but uh, especially if one takes sannyas, then what is required from him is to travel and to preach. That not only helps the movement, the preaching work, but it also helps in developing that faith in Krishna in the heart of sannyasi. Because then he's dependent. Of course, earlier days they would travel in the go to the forest or Himalayas, or then they would be really dependent upon Krishna to take care of them, to maintain them. Yes, now as preachers, um, we have like itineraries fixed, where we're gonna stay, where we're gonna eat, where we're gonna speak. So the sannyasis or the traveling preachers, they have things lined up. But uh, still there are difficulties, still there are challenges. For that, one really has to depend or surrender unto Krishna. Just like I don't want to brag or something. Uh, Once I was called for a program, not a program, uh, in Gurgaon only. So I did the Sunday feast lecture and the whole program. And one family, because I was coming from Delhi, and so I would stay at different families' homes for the night. So one family had said, "Oh, Prabhuji, you please come to our house and stay with us overnight. And don't take prasadam in the temple. We will have prasadam for you." So I was getting late at the temple, meeting people and taking care of other things. And then they called again, "Prabhuji, we are waiting for you." And it was getting late. It was like 10:30 or something like that at night. I said, "Okay, okay, I'm coming, rushing." So I went there. And when I went, so we sat at the dining table, and Mataji said, "Well, Prabhuji, we ran out of prasadam." I was like, "I didn't take anything at the temple because you..." I said, "Okay, well, what can we do?" And this is what Krishna wants. I said, "Okay, at least give me some milk, I'll be fine." Probably kids drank all the milk, we don't even have milk. I said, "Okay, Krishna, thanks for testing." Well, this happens. But this is something very, very minimal. But sannyasis, when they used to travel, like it is mentioned in Narad Muni, they really had to depend upon Krishna for everything. But it increases their faith. Because Krishna does take care. That's for sure. He will take care. He takes care uh, of people who are against him, people who don't believe in him. He takes care of all the animals, birds, insects. Why wouldn't he take care of his devotees who are spreading the, his teachings or spreading his glories? He does take care. Well, takes care in his own ways. we cannot we cannot put conditions on. So anyway, yet Prabhupada was traveling as a mendicant missionary, Parivrajaka having already attained the advanced stage wherein the pure devotee resides in Vrindavan and chants Hare Krishna incessantly. He was now traveling for the good of the whole world. He, like Narad, was traveling to all parts of the world. As a news writer in India had appropriately titled him as he was jet age Parivarajaka. So this is actually the real mood of a sannyasi. Sannyas, yes, it is. It's linked with, okay, this type of dress, this type of hairstyle, or tilak, or this or that. The real mood of sannyasi is to sacrifice his own comforts for the welfare of others. In fact, many times sacrifice his own life for the welfare of others. And welfare for a preacher is, or in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement, the real welfare is to awaken the ignorant souls on the path of bhakti. That is the real welfare. And look at Prabhupada. He was living comfortably, I cannot say, but he was living in Vrindavan, rather Damodar temple. He could have lived there and nobody would have said anything. He was sannyasi living in Radha Damodar temple, left his body there. But no, first of all, his guru's instructions, and then his own mood. Yes, I need to wake up these sleeping souls. I need to preach. And the moment and the mood of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is also like that. He has given instructions to all the Indians. Bharat Bhumi te Manusya Janma hai lajaha. Janma sarthak kari kar par upakar. First, Janma sarthak, make your life complete by taking up devotional service. And then kar par upakar. Act for the welfare of others. Means wake them up on the path of, but they forgot. And Prabhupada did at this age, at the age of 69, he left India, and now 71, when he is 75 years old, and he's planning to go all over the world. This is the mood. This is the mood of a preacher. A few brahmacharis he only recently initiated by Srila Prabhupada had been preaching alone on the tropical peninsula of Malaysia for several months. With nearly 1 million Indians in Malaysia, many of them wealthy and influential, the brahmacharis were meeting with success. During one program at a Hindu temple in Kuala Lumpur, the South Indian doctor and his lawyer wife expressed their appreciation of the devotees and offered to donate a house and some land to ISKCON. When the devotees visited the property and found that the offer was serious, they informed Prabhupada, who decided to visit. And yes, many places all over the world, especially in India, people do get impressed by the preaching movement, by the interactions with the devotees, and they donate their properties to ISKCON. Prabhupada, accompanied by his disciple Vegwan, flew from Bombay to Kuala Lumpur. Since he planned to go next to Sydney and install Radha Krishna deities in the new temple there, he carried the deities with him, the same Radha and Krishna who had presided at the Bombay Pandal. Lord Krishna rode in a wooden box in the plane's luggage compartment, and Srimati Radharani, wrapped in cloth, rested on Vegwan's lap. Within a brief time after Prabhupada's arrival at Kuala Lumpur, he was lecturing before a large audience at his host's home. I'm very glad to inform you that we have reached Malaysia very shortly. That on my arrival, there was a nice meeting, and then we have come outside the city. Yesterday, I was very busy all day. For 2 days, Prabhupada stayed in the home of a wealthy Sindhi merchant of Kuala Lumpur. The house was large and luxurious, with thick carpets and large mirrors. But when Prabhupada learned that his hosts were meat eaters, he refused to eat anything except fruit and milk, even though his disciples offered to cook for him. His disciples, having traveled throughout Malaysia, considered eating at the home of meat eaters permissible, as long as devotees could prepare the prasadam in pots not used for cooking meat. But proper standard was higher. So even this is this is a challenge for preachers, for those who travel and go to different homes and preach. Sometimes we have to accept food at the house of these meat eaters. What to do? So we just pray. One room in the house had a large collection of marble deities, about 50 sets of Lakshmi Narayan and Radhakrishna deities in rows. It appeared to be more of a collector's display than worship, however, and Prabhupada was unimpressed. Prabhupada lectured at Kuala Lumpur town and the Lakshmi Narayan temple, mostly to Indians. He explained that people could be united only on the spiritual platform. Look at the United Nations, he said. They're adding more and more flags. So more and more flags means more and more countries are being formed. And there are only more and more wars. This Krishna consciousness movement will be the real United Nations. Prabhupada had brought with him slides of ISKCON's activities. And he had one of his disciples narrate a slideshow, coaching him on what to say. When a slide appeared of Rath Yatra in London's Trafalgar Square, Prabhupada prompted the devotee, no, it's no more Lord Nelson, now it's Lord Jagannath. When Prabhupada met the couple offering the land, he discovered that the agreement had certain important conditions. The doctor and his wife said they would give ISKCON a large piece of land near the main highway, and that their own construction company would build the temple. Within 2 years, however, if the company hadn't completed the building, the doctor and his wife would reclaim the property. Always eager to consider any serious donation of land, Prabhupada accepted the conditional offer. But he knew that such offers were usually too conditional. Already the doctor and his wife had hinted of Indian Brahmins running the temple and of ISKCONs having only a side altar. One evening, as Prabhupada talked to the doctor, a gynecologist, the talk turned to birth control. Prabhupada explains its sinfulness. And he gave an example. If someone poisoned the air in the room he and the doctor were sitting in, then they would have to leave the room or die. Similarly, Prabhupada explained, contraception meant to poison the womb, denying a soul its rightful shelter. Like Prabhupada's previous post, the doctor ate meat, although the devotees had been pushing him to give it up. Prabhupada was gentle. Try to stop eating meat, he urged. It was Ekadashi, and Prabhupada decided to fast from all food, again showing extreme reluctance to eat in the home of a meat eater. So then from Malaysia, he went to Sydney, Australia. Sydney, May 9th, 1971. The Sydney devotees weren't ready for Prabhupada. An early telegram had informed them that he was coming, but a later telegram had said, Prabhupada not coming now. A third telegram had come, announcing that Bali Mardhan, the Australian GBC secretary, was coming. When a fourth telegram had stated only arriving and the date and flight number, the devotees had presumed this referred to Bali Mardhan, not to Prabhupada. The devotees had taken a small garland and had gone to meet the plane. And when the doors to the customs area opened and Prabhupada himself walked out, they were flabbergasted. They were not expecting Prabhupada to come. A white attaché case in his left hand, a cane in his right, a lightweight chadar around his shoulders. Srila Prabhupada entered the airport. Reporters on hand to interview Bali Mardhan came eagerly forward, one of them inquiring why Prabhupada had come to Australia. Replying softly, Prabhupada said he traveled everywhere, just as a salesman travels everywhere. A salesman looks for customers wherever he can find them, and Prabhupada was traveling, searching for anyone intelligent enough to accept his message. There is no difference in coming to Australia, he said. The governments had made a demarcation. This is Australia, but we see everywhere as a land of Krishna. One of the devotees hurried to phone the temple. Prabhupada was coming. Like Prabhupada's original temple at 26 Second Avenue in New York, the Sydney temple was a one-room storefront on a main business thoroughfare. On the storefront's plate glass window, one of the devotees had painted a picture of Radha and Krishna. Prabhupada entered the room and found it bare, except for a simple wooden altar with 3-inch Jagannath deities and a big cloth covered Vyasasana. An old rug hid the floor. The blue haze hanging in the air was smoke from the downstairs kitchen, where a devotee was frantically burning cumin seeds to spice Prabhupada's lunch. Prabhupada remained grave as he walked deliberately to the rear door and looked outside. But when he saw garbage and boards stacked high against the building, his gravity turned to sternness. What's all this, he asked. Someone tried an explanation. Unsatisfactory. A devotee brought a glass of milk. Too hot, Prabhupada said, and the devotee took it away. Prabhupada sat on the large Vyasasana. He looked around the room at each face. None of the 15 or so devotees had ever seen him before, and only a handful had been initiated by mail. They were untrained. They had never seen Prabhupada before. Can you believe? And they were his disciples because they were initiated by mail and no training. They were untrained. The carpet was dirty, he said. It should be replaced. And why were there no flowers on the altar? He had brought Radha and Krishna deities, but before the devotees could begin their worship, everything must be very clean. The devotees would have to become Brahmins before they could worship Radha and Krishna. So this is also in Australia only. He prayed to the deities after the deities were installed. He prayed that they don't know anything. Please accept whatever service they can render. And the deities really responded. These devotees, Prabhupada saw, knew little of Krishna consciousness. The devotees who had come to Australia originally, Upendra and Balimarthan, had opened the center and left, returning but rarely. Thus, an entire temple of inexperienced devotees had been virtually left on its own. Since none of the Sydney devotees could lecture well, the daily classes had consisted of readings from Prabhupada's abridged Bhagavad Gita as it is, the only book they had. Yet their firm faith in Prabhupada compensated for the lack of training. They accepted him as a pure devotee, directly in touch with God, and they accepted his books as truth and Krishna as the supreme personality of Godhead. But many practical things they didn't know, such as how to cook, lecture, and worship the deities. They knew Prabhupada wanted them to chant Hare Krishna publicly and distribute Back to Godhead magazines to the people of Sydney. And this they did daily. Despite frequent arrests, they continued with their Sankirtan. Sincerity they had, they only lacked training. So they were arrested also many times. So not only in Australia, America, and other places also, devotees got arrested. In Australia, once they got arrested, and the devotees, so inside the police station, or maybe they were in the jail, I don't know. They just did kirtan. And then they refused to eat whatever the jail authorities were offering them. They said, we cannot eat what you give us. We have to cook our own food. And then they got the permission because they're not like hardcore criminals or something. So they were preparing their own food and they were distributing to the other inmates also. And they were holding kirtan. So the judge finally released them, saying they're more dangerous inside than they're outside. So just get them out of here. A devotee brought Prabhupada his lunch, poorly cooked. The chapatis half burned, half raw, the vegetables strongly spiced. Prabhupada rebuked the cook. If you didn't know how to cook, why didn't you tell me? I can show you. And he went into the kitchen. One of the cooks had tried to make kachoris and had failed, although she knew that the dough had to be rolled thin, the filling put in just right, and then the edges folded over precisely. Neither she nor any of the devotees had been able to do it. Prabhupada, using the same dough and filling, demonstrated the art and made perfect kachoris. The devotees explained the difficulty in making chapatis. There was no flame on the electric stove. The chapatis always came out dry or raw or burned and never puffed up. The excuse only annoyed Prabhupada, however, who showed exactly how to make chapatis that puffed up every time, even on an electric burner. Then he taught the cooks a simple vegetable dish, advised as he cooked. After he left the kitchen, the devotees tried the chapatis again. They wouldn't puff up. It seemed a magical art, only Prabhupada knew. Srila Prabhupada had his reasons for bringing Radha and Krishna to Australia, some of them apparent, others so deep that only he and Radha Krishna could understand them. Of course, he was always expanding his movement, of which deity worship was an important part. So that was one reason for bringing Radha and Krishna to Australia, to strengthen the devotees and establish more solidly his movement there. And Prabhupada loved these deities. They had presided over the Bombay Pandal, and when they hadn't been on stage, he had kept them in his room. where he would look at them during the day. He had brought them from Bombay to Malaysia to Sydney, and now he proposed to install them in his fledgling ISKCON center. But the infinite purity of his heart and the depth of his determination to risk anything for the Lordships, Sri Radha and Krishna, are unfathomable. Srila Prabhupada's activities are most grave, and their deeper meaning eludes an observer. Of Lord Chaitanya, Krishnadas Kaviraj wrote, I do not know the deep meaning of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's activities. I'm just trying to describe them externally. When Prabhupada came to the temple to perform the initiation ceremony and deity installation, the devotees weren't ready. Only one small vase of flowers decorated the almost bare altar, and the devotees had not made garlands for the deities. Prabhupada was displeased, and the small temple was packed. However, and guests and devotees crowded the open doorway and peered through the front window. TV crews filmed the action under hot lamps. While devotees hurriedly strung garlands for the deities, Prabhupada performed the initiation ceremony. There were 15 initiates in all. To some devotees, he gave first, to some second initiation, and to others both first and second. Then he lovingly bathed the forms of Radha and Krishna and performed the fire sacrifice. While dressing the deities, he remarked that the clothes had been poorly made and the devotees should make new ones immediately. He named the deities Shri Radha Gopinath. See how he was spreading the movement. And nowhere we can hear the Radha and Krishna deities are installed in not even temples which are not even Vastu compatible, not even proper altar. Radha Krishna are not installed like that. But he was doing. Jagannath deities is sitting there, this small altar, they're sitting there. But this was a special relationship with the deities that the deities accepted the services of even non-trained devotees. And this is how the movement grew. Vaibhavi. He initiated everyone in the temple, anyone who was there, even one boy who had just joined that week and had only come across Krishna consciousness the week before, and people who weren't living in the temple, just anyone who was there and somehow serving. He wanted Krishna consciousness to be established in Australia, so he just initiated everybody. He gave first and second initiations at the same time because having installed the deities, there had to be some Brahmins. But we didn't know anything. We weren't even ready. The altar wasn't finished. Prabhupada explained to me that we had to string flowers for a garland. The deity was supposed to wear them. I was running up and down the street trying to find some flowers and get some thread and make a garland. Same with the sacred thread. There were no sacred threads in the Janev. They were not there. Prabhupada gave the man a sacred thread at Brahman initiation, but no one really knew what it was. So I had to run and buy some string. While Prabhupada was initiating people, I was sitting there in the arena making sacred threads, copying the one that Balimardan had taken of himself. I made 5 of them, and then I was next, again the sacrifice. And after I came out of Prabhupada's room, where he had given me the Gayatri mantra, the other devotee said, you are a Brahman now, so you have to have a sacred thread too. They told me to make one for myself, which I didn't, because someone told me later a woman wasn't supposed to wear one. We just didn't know much. And this is also something revolutionary Prabhupada did. Ladies don't chant Gayatri Mantra. They don't wear sacred thread Janev, and they don't chant Gayatri Mantra. But Prabhupada allowed them. Of course, he didn't give them the Janev, but he allowed them to chant Gayatri Mantra. He allowed them to go on the altar, serve the deities, worship the deities. In India, we don't see that. Ladies going on the altar. But in the West, Prabhupada allowed that. It's okay. And in fact, now, most of the head pujaris in most of the temples are Matajis. First of all, lack of devotees, lack of Brahmins, and the deities have to be taken care of. And if husbands are working, having a job to run the family, to run the household, then the ladies take care of the deities in the temples. At Sydney Grammar School, an elite school for boys, Prabhupada led his disciples and a group of students in a kirtan procession through the schoolyard. About 200 boys and several teachers took part, some children frolicking and laughing, some singing the mantra, some soberly following the procession. As the teachers smiled and watched, the procession ended in a large room with a row of chairs in the front. Prabhupada sat in the headmaster's elaborately carved throne-like seat in the center and began playing kartals, continuing the chanting of Hare Krishna. Seeing only a few students responding, he stopped and looked around at the children sitting before him. So you're all beautiful boys. Why you do not chant? Join us in chanting Hare Krishna. Is it very difficult? Will you not try to chant? Say Hare. A few children, Hare. All of you chant Hare. The children weakly, Hare. Some giggled. Prabhupada led them through the mantra, one word at a time. Some children were reticent. Prabhupada, there are only three words, Hare, Krishna, and Ram. Is it difficult? Chant again, Hare. Teasing and prodding, Prabhupada coaxed them. Oh, you cannot chant, you're all dumb. The children broke into laughter. How is it that three words you cannot chant? That's very astonishing. Chant Hare, Hare, Krishna, Krishna. Prabhupada began rhythmically ringing his kartals. The children followed him as he sang Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. After a short time, Prabhupada brought the kirtan to a close. Sitting in a beautiful ornate chair, he smiled at his children. Three words, Hare Krishna and Ram. Do you know what is God? Can any of you stand up and tell me what is God? There was silence, then whispering. Finally, one 12-year-old boy stood. His schoolmates applauded and laughed. Oh, thank you, Prabhupada said. Come here. The boy approached. Do you know what is God? Prabhupada said. Yes, the boy replied. God is self-realization and God is found in the unconscious mind. Thank you. Again, the children applauded. No, wait, don't go away, Prabhupada said. Now you must explain what you mean. What is self-realization? Boy, it is tapping the powers of unconscious mind and seeing yourself. Do you think the mind is unconscious? Boy, the mind is unconscious. Prabhupada, to understand the unconscious, you have to find out what is consciousness. Boy, I'm not talking about consciousness, the unconsciousness. Prabhupada, unless you know consciousness, how can you describe unconsciousness? Boy, the unconsciousness, Prabhupada, unconsciousness is a negative side of consciousness. So you should explain what is consciousness. Then we can understand unconsciousness. Prabhupada, yes, try to understand what is consciousness. Then you will understand what is unconsciousness. Consciousness is spread all over the body. Suppose I pinch any part of your body, you feel some pain. That is consciousness. This feeling of pain and pleasure is consciousness, but that consciousness is individual. I cannot feel the pain and pleasures of your body. Neither you can feel the pains and pleasures of my body. Therefore, your consciousness is individual and my consciousness is individual. But then there is another consciousness who can feel the pains and pleasures of your body and who can feel the pains and pleasures of my body. That is stated in Bhagavad Gita. You have heard the name of Bhagavad Gita? You, any of you, another boy? Yes. Who says yes? So please come here. So anyway, this conversation goes on. You are individual knower of your body. I am knower individually of my body. So everyone is knower of his own body. But there is another person who says, I know everything of everyone's body. Just like I know something of my body or I know something of this world. After describing the soul's intimate relationship as an eternal servant of Krishna and the soul's suffering caused by forgetting that relationship, Prabhupada concluded his lecture. This teaching should be introduced in every school and college so that from the very beginning, children understand what is God, how great He is, how we are related with God, and how we have to live. So this is what Prabhupada is saying, preaching everywhere. Therefore, I request your teachers here to make the students from the beginning God conscious. Then our future life will be very peaceful, prosperous, and hopeful. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. At Wayside Chapel, a skeptic in the audience challenged Prabhupada. Prabhupada had explained that the chanting of the holy names of God was the only way to actually help people, but the cynic challenged, what good actually is the chanting of Hare Krishna? And Prabhupada said, it saves you from death. Of course, chanting does much more than that. But since he had doubts and he was challenging, so Prabhupada just said that. So anyway, there was one question that came up yesterday from Archana Mataji. She showed a video, and these kind of videos are all over, saying that ISKCON temples in India, they collect money in India and then they send it to America. Well, all ISKCON temples, whether India, America, or all over the world, Prabhupada had set it up like this, that every temple is autonomous. It's not that we are sending the money to some head office or headquarters and from there the money is distributed to rest of the world. No. Like I had Gurgaon temple, Ludhiana temple, whatever money we collect locally, we don't get help from any other temple, like from Delhi, big temple, right? We collect that money locally and we spend locally. We spend on our temple maintenance, devotee maintenance, preaching programs, and other programs. So there is no money going to any part of the world from any temple in ISKCON. So that's a lie, and it is basically it is started by envious people who just don't like the success of ISKCON. So they say, oh, some say it's a CIA infiltrating through ISKCON all over. What's CIA got to do with it? They cannot even follow the principles of ISKCON. I'm not saying that there are no mismanagement of money in any temple or every temple. I don't know every temple I can say, but some temple, yes, mismanagement has to be there. It's Kali Yuga after all. We are all conditioned souls. We are still trying to purify ourselves. So some mismanagement might be there. But that doesn't mean money is going to America. No. It's all collected locally by the local temples and spent locally. And then another part of that video was after ISKCON has come or ISKCON has flourished, the cow killing has increased in India. No, there is no connection. In fact, ISKCON is preaching against meat eating. Once, like at the traffic stops, sometimes in India, on like Saturday night or Friday night, the cops are there and they try to use this breathalyzer to all the drivers if they have if they are drunk. So once they came to me, I was coming back from somewhere. It was little late. And they put the breathalyzer. I said, I made so many people leave drinking. You want me to check? You want to check my breath? He was laughing. He said, well, Swamiji, what to do? This is our job. I said, okay, no problem. I'll give you my tips. So obviously there was nothing. So similarly, we have made so many people quit meat eating. So how can anybody say because of ISKCON's flourishing, cow killing has increased in India? At the same time, yes, if the cow killing has increased, means our preaching is not to that level that it was supposed to be. Our preaching should be so great that people should themselves give up all these sinful activities. Not just cow killing, every other sinful activity. The preaching should be so effective. So in that sense, yes, I can understand that we haven't done a wonderful job yet, but it's not that because ISKCON is flourishing, cow killing has increased and the flesh and the skin is being sold to America and to the rest of the world. No. Cow killing has increased because Kali Yuga is making more and more progress. And more Sankirtan and preaching, book distribution has to go on to counter that. So that's all I have to say. So we can stop here. Anybody has any questions or comments?
Thank you so much, Shobhiji. Perfect answers.
Thank
Now
you.
I can reply them. Thank you. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Thank you,
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Krishna, thank you very much, Prabhuji. Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Jai Srila Prabhupada.